Moving on to our second expert speaker for today, Mr. Sriram, who is the Managing Director of Scarlet Industries Private Limited. He's a Director of Aeroc Space Technologies Private Limited and promoter of Samuha Engineering Industries Limited. Mr. Sriram is a multi-talented expert in the procurement sector. He has also drafted and published the Social Economic Development Plan for both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana states for FAPSI. So many years of experience in industrial sector, he will share his knowledge on vital aspects of procurement policies in public sector undertaking. So we are looking forward to all your sharing, Mr. Sriram, of all the experience of all these years. Like we can see from the pictures that you've shared with us, that we are really looking forward to you sharing your knowledge about all these industries and what is your success mantra. So I hand over to Mr. Sriram Garu to kindly make his presentation. Soon after we've seen, yes, thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Sriram. Welcome today.
Thank you, Kalpana Garu. Good afternoon to all. Thanks to be on the platform of COVI. I don't know how many are there. I was associated in the launching program of COVI almost 20 years back. So I could see very few who were there in the Jubilee Hall when it was launched. So I'm happy to part of it, and thanks for the opportunity given to give my presentation on the today's topic. So thanking COVI and Jyotsna Garu for inviting me to give the talk on this. So I'll just add small presentation. I'll just go through the presentation and then subsequently we'll go for the question. Mr. Naman, could you help me? I'm not able to share the.
So there's a share screen button if you click on that. So you're logged in through laptop, right?
Yeah. Oh, my other screen has been disabled.
Sorry, sir, pardon?
I have a system also shared that has been disabled from. Could you share?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll share.
Yeah, namaskar to all. So I have divided my presentation the way I mentioned it. One is, since I understand, I know there is a seasoned business women entrepreneurs in the meeting, as well as the students and startup entrepreneurs. So I'm just touching upon how the global economy, which is now going through the during and the post pandemic, how it is, and then now India is going to be. And today's topic focusing on the micro industry in specific, because I know the COVI encouraging startups and empowering micro and small women to be entrepreneurs. Then opportunity for micro and small industry. I had a case study where the small entrepreneurs can avail the upcoming focus. You can see the way the city presentation, the focus of government is on the rural economy. That's where they are going to give the allied, agri-allied products loans they are going to use. So next. Yeah. So now we see the globalization over the past decades in the global economy has been resulted in more synchronization of business cycles in different countries and more stable global growth over the last 20 years, which we have all seen. The post-pandemic trends clearly say to re-strengthen domestic workforce position in advanced economies by higher barriers to the trade and reshoring. You can see the way the last 6-7 months we are thinking, not only India, even the major economy like US also look inwards like is taking place. And also you can see the changing geopolitical situation globally, looking at China, Europe, India, Russia, and US. So there are a lot of economic changes are taking place. So pandemic has given the more impetus in it. Mr. Naman? Yeah. He lives in e-commerce. That during pandemic and even just before pandemic, you can say he lives in e-commerce and the digital service in pandemic. Is likely to widen existing divides between low and middle versus high skilled workers and between advanced and emerging markets. This is going to be the biggest advantage for in India. Looking at the next slide, I can show why this particular thing, the pandemic challenges for the barriers and is going to help Indian economy. Most of the trends would favor advanced economies boosted by their fiscal stimulus plans and increased investments in technology. We can see, unlike in India, other major countries are doing a lot of impetus to increasing the buying capacities. But India, we are doing any different form of like infra. We are going to spend a lot to increase the buying capacity of the individual. Then we think in terms of greater domestic consumption than export-led development, which involves abundant, cheap rural labor into the factories of fast-growing cities. Indeed, the future epidemics could turn very large cities into liabilities rather than the engine of growth. Even if you see the focus again, I think the SIDBI presentation, if you see. Now we see states within India, the states which depend on mode of urban economy is finding and getting into the crisis. So the states which have the combination of rural economy and the urban economy, they are balanced. The states with a large rural economy will have a good advantage. Next. Mr. Naman. Yeah, if you see, this is the global economy. I just said that where India is positioned. We are the 2.6 trillion US economy with a percentage of 3.27. The country which is the second largest population and the youngest population and expected to be the large population globally, but our economy is very low and the share, global share is very low. If you think our exports, global exports is around 1%, out of the service exports are very high. So this is the statistics which will help India to boost its economy, as we are ambitious of looking at 5 trillion or 10 trillion economy in the near future. And also, then another advantage which we as a people are industry in manufacturing. So the last decade, since last decades, we are thinking the manufacturing contribution in the GDP could be around 25%. That's only can give the sustainable GDP growth. So this is the biggest advantage India can have in the future years. Next. Yeah. So now where will India during this pandemic situation and how it can? You see the COVID-induced Asian and regional lockdowns have placed limitations on indigenous demand while giving hope to the demands from overseas. This is not only the global nation to nation, but within state also we are having some imbalance in cooperation. For example, if you say Telangana, we not only the industry and then agriculture also depend on the migration level. So this is the when we are talking about how to rebuild in Telangana state economy. Our government concern more is how to retain our migrant labor within Telangana to have an economic boost. So this is not only that internationally, the nation also we have the challenges with the diversified economic models in different states. Then it is coming to where we stand in globally. India's export rose more than 60% year on year to record $34.5 billion in March and a robust 32 billion in April. The first month of the current financial looks to be prospective. But again, this month there is a slowdown, but it is expected to be boosted again again, we need to consider where India is positioning in a changing global socio-economic and the securities which every nation is fighting. This is one of the important factors which India has the largest advantage, where we are in constant touch with various economies. And during this time, Indian government, central government, and state governments taking the significant initiative to strengthen the economic credentials of the country and the respective states and make it one of the strongest economies in the world. We can see that a lot of initiatives has been taken the last 1.5 years in India at central level, but we have to wait and watch how these are going to be really help in boosting our economy, which help the increase in the spending economy. This is a big question mark. The initiatives were there, but frequently there are changes in it. So, but it is required to be happened. India is fast becoming home to startups focused on high growth areas such as mobility, e-commerce, and other vertical specific solutions, creating new markets and driving innovation to exist. This is one because the service economy we are focusing on, but this is not sufficient for the size of India and aspirations to the people in the future decades. So that is where organizational COVID should matter, how to boost the manufacturing economy in India. Rise in domestic investment has been one of the biggest contributors to the India growth story, and both the public and private sectors has enabled and sustained these investments. So if you see the recent past, our FIs has been growing, and FDIs also, though it looks to be increased, but it's not real term. We don't see much FDIs in India. But if you see this, despite the pandemic and all, investments in various sectors going up, they expected to grow up. So domestic investors definitely is going to spend more in India, which both state and central governments should enable them to invest, reducing the certain barriers in investing by the MNCs or individuals into the Indian investments. Following up the various investors driving domestic investments in the country and expected to be. The government, public sector enterprises, predominantly the capital expenditures in these two areas. Let's say the government of India now is going to be spent lakhs of crores in infrastructure, which normally happens whenever any economy of any country will be spent. That's not enough, because that is only give some rural employment and some steel and certain industries to it. But public sector enterprises should invest more, because the slogan is from Mr. Manmohan Singh's regime of 25% contribution in GDP. Now we are slogan with Make in India, now Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these things will be happen, and the down the line, medium, small, and micro enterprises to be benefited and contribute back to the Indian economy. So public sector enterprises should invest on the capital expenditure predominantly. Where if you see that electronics predominantly, which we import a lot, there has to be start manufacturing in India. It involves both capital and revenue expenditure. The private sector enterprises, yes, if you see the last post-globalization, we are seeing the major investments in the private sector. That's where entire supply chain manufacturing has seen a total outlook, and it's also helped the Indian industry, private and small industry, to export to the global companies. Then the biggest role again, which we need to see, so we have CPS presented, of course, the big contribution to the industrial financing is very limited, but we have another public sector bank going to present. The banks, financial institutions, and domestic institutional investors should play a vital role, because there are the aspiring entrepreneurs are there, and Stand Up India, which is encouraging a lot of youngsters to get into the businesses. But all that, I may find solution, I may find the business opportunity, but I need a financial support, which is the biggest barrier in India. And our credit cost if we want to be competitive globally, our credit cost is very high, which is another biggest concern. Of course, since decades, this is one of the and the retail investors. Dominantly, retail investors coming through which are the companies getting into listed companies and all. This where it is going up. You can see even that the new scheme has come up for even the startups also can list in the financial market. So these are the four major points which are to be focused for India industry to grow, economy to grow, to boost Indian consumption predominantly, because still with our economy is a domestic consumption economy, but that's not sufficient because the changing the global parameters. And if you look at the China story, then we need to, I don't encourage to be factories for the global requirement, but we should focus more, we should at least put a target of 5% exports, which manufacturing exports should be more. Next, Mr. Naman. Yes, of course. The challenges, I think Josna mentioned a lot of challenges for the micro industry, but for any industry, the big challenges we have. You see the challenge now in the pandemic times, the challenge now will be aggravated on two counts. One, demand recovery will not be as quick as in the previous years, as the impact has been widespread. And second, the supply side constraints become more complex because of the regional lockdowns. This is one India specific. In the globally also, if you see even for manufacturing vaccine, we are finding it very difficult. We are looking for a lot of import component in it. And again, in the pharma sector, intermediates, we still depend largely on the other nations' import. So if you see, the first thing is the demand recovery, because the buying capacity over the last couple of years and predominantly during pandemic, the buying capacity has come down because the huge unemployment generated. But thanks to the agricultural economy which is grown, is helping for us to sustain. Then the second is, it is supply side constraints, what I mentioned. So our supply chain is not so strong in India as well the globally also, which we need to be more focused. That's where organizations like COVI should matter. How the way you're doing the last 2 decades, small entrepreneurs pick up, and you're also trying to clusterize to get to the big companies to procure from your cluster. Okay, this to be more focused area. This is one of the biggest challenge for the micro industry in the coming years. So this needs to be addressed, and we'll find a way. And then we hope the consolidation will happen. But as the demand gets muted, the industry needs to collaborate with one another like OEMs, with Tier 1 with the Tier 2 and with the Tier 3. So globally, if you see the procurement by the major companies, whether it's the government enterprise or the private enterprise, you have a procurement system. We have the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, which India doesn't have. Only in the auto sector, we have some kind of Tier 1, Tier 2 has been established when the global OEMs started manufacturing in India. Not even the Maruti. When Hyundai came, they created some procurement system. But it has to be across manufacturing sector, this Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 system. Otherwise, what's the disadvantage we are seeing with our experience? The company with 20 years experience has the technology and everything, and having 200, 300 people, and capable of doing the major equipments. And a company which is a startup company is competing for the same item with a public sector enterprise. Yes, I don't deny that the small company should not, but the thing is, again, Josnagar mentioned L1 is one of the big criteria. So in an advanced economies, the price is being more or less fixed for few years, considering what exactly the product required in terms, considering the input cost and also quality to be built in the product. So this is one of the biggest concerns which India is facing. One is L1, and the central government procurement or the public sector procurement policies that they have to be only L1. But in true sense, it is not necessarily L1. L1 is not judged well in terms of every company has a basic costing. But despite the provision, because other statutory institutions forcing them, they are unable to justify why they cannot give it L1 or other one. So unless until we build this, it will be very difficult India to be more productive and competitive. And we cannot encourage manufacturing industry to grow. Okay. This you can see in IT sector, you can see this tier 1, tier 2 system. But the manufacturing sector, it is not there. But it is one of the biggest barrier for our product to be more productive and export quality. The reason being the poor access to the market. Another challenge is, biggest challenge is, we all talk about technology, we talk about skill, we talk about finance and regulatory burdens and all. But the focus could be create the market. If you see, when most of the people who are running the last 20 years back, when you started your enterprise, you didn't say anything. You only see that, do I have an opportunity to supply something? We didn't see, do I have the technology? I didn't see whether I had the skilled manpower, or I didn't see even the regulatory burden I'm going to have. But if I have some market to be sell, then I pitched it. So now, because we are encouraging entrepreneurship, right from startup to measure by policies, by expect policies, with promotion policies, the lucrative incentive schemes and all. But creating market is the biggest failure. So this is, once you have to create the market, then entrepreneurs will come. And when entrepreneurs, if the market is there, getting technology, getting credit and all follows. Next, Mr. Manohar. This is my personal view, but hopefully the people are in industry the last decade plus understand this what I mentioned. Thank you. Next, yeah. Now I come in.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just because of the paucity of time, we will request you to just, roughly do this, and I'm sure there will be 1,000 questions.
I just came to the same slide. I just came. Yeah. So opportunity for the micro sector, and I was asked to focus on more on engineering opportunities for the women entrepreneurs. I have seen women entrepreneurs over decades. We are expertised in fashion design and textile, apparels, food processing, packaging. I have seen many of the entrepreneurs who are successful and doing a pretty good job, and their product standards are very high. So considering, I can see that, yes, so I am predominantly in aerospace defense, our group companies into aerospace defense and energy sector. Now we are space also. So here, the micro, even the small industry with the kind of quality and the manufacturing capex and machinery is expected, it is very difficult a micro industry with less than a crore to get into reasonably good. So, but the large requirement now is agricultural allied industry is going up, which require agricultural gadgets, more which we have to be mechanized in a simple way. Is a big opportunity. Automobile components, yes, is a big game. I don't want to risk that budding enterprise without any industrial family background. Aviation, biotechnology, and the capital equipment which government is coming up, there will be an opportunity. Chemical and pharma industry, already I can see a lot of women entrepreneurs are featured in it. Yes, there again is the consumer durables, which already women entrepreneurs are there, the biggest, the future opportunity. Then electronics. See, electronics, it is not just what we see. A lot of electronics, if you see the, I'm coming later how the Taiwan is grown, focusing on electronics. There's a big advantage because maybe if the same trends continue, Indian imports on electronics will surpass the oil imports. So this is one of the going to be the biggest focus. It will have the 3-tier system to be built in. The biggest opportunity will be there in the small components of electronics manufacturing. Yes, food processing and agri-allied the linker thing. And if you see that every state, every district, they're going to have a food processing park. This big advantage. Jamshedpur is already there. Next big thing is healthcare and medical equipment. It is not the core healthcare equipment. The peripheral, like the medical, where the patient is kept, you have stretchers, you have the beds and all. This is going to be the biggest requirement because we are going to a lot of restrictions on China imports. So this is the biggest opportunity for the micro and small, dominantly for the women. I'll tell you why women. Then office and housing equipment. This is going to be the biggest. We are importing the huge tons from China, and we need to be focused on Indian manufacturing. Central government is very keen and focus more on indigenous manufacturing. Renewable energy, I don't want to be touched upon. And textile and experts, I think you're all experts in mentioning about. So here again, so these are the core sectors where micro and small women entrepreneurs has an opportunity. Next, Ms. Nama. So I've predominantly thought of two case studies. One is the steel furniture manufacturing and also agricultural gadget manufacturing. Because other sectors which more, I can see more presence of women entrepreneurs. We have taken the steel furniture manufacturing. Like you are very good in decorative items. So now, if you see that household decoration, and we are increasing well. And if you see public sector procurement, if you see, due to the why the wood is going to cost, that's where, and manufacturing easy and the affordability and all, and demand is going to be the steel furniture. We need to focus more on the steel furniture, despite steel is going to be the costing. The items are find extensive use in industries, commercial establishment, and household. Given the growth in these sectors, the demand for the office automation equipment and steel furniture has increased considerably. So why women entrepreneurs? That means the decorative things we have a standard style of table and all these things. It can be the more lucrative, not only in the house, in the office and the factories, which you can see. And this is very small manufacturing facilities there in India. Since I'm focusing more that public sector and the state government procurement, this is one of the huge procurement state governments and central government experts. So this is where the COVID should focus, influencing more on the state government's procurement. This is one of the best opportunity I can see, and easy in manufacturing also. If you see the other areas, like most of the people are in the packing industry. So the way if you see the packing industry, yes, these things also will be easy. Okay, and the way your apparel and all, but you're slightly mud your hands in terms of steel manufacturing. Okay, but it's to be as a policy, the procurement which Rosnasi mentioned, the 750 crores could go up to 7,500 crores. I seriously mention it, and this is one sector apart from the which I mentioned, that agriculture equipment. So this is the reason why I chosen steel furniture, because in procurement policy with respect to state governments also. Now, if we see the state government policies, affordable housing, and we want to give it including fan. So this is what we should take an advantage, where the women entrepreneurs should pitch in and design the decorative articles and supply. And micro enterprise propose manufacture steel fabricate furniture which are required both for domestic and commercial establishment by considering the PSUs and state government procurement policy. So this is what we need to linkage for the engineering manufacturing to be more established in the women entrepreneurs. Next minute. Yeah. So if you see my experience as in what is required for a manufacturing and how to locate and what is required. So this can be established any industrial area and any rural location. You don't have to find very big ecosystem for it. So basic equipment is also not so critical to get. It is most of the equipment is domestically manufactured. You see the simple steel cutting, bending, welding. Somewhere, if you artisan like. You can have a small turning machines and all, because you need to have some finishing touches and all. Then the steel furniture also requires some wood platform. So simple wood cutting and the carving. This is where additional advantage. A little expensive, but good carving machine if we have, it can be more attractive. Then most of these people doesn't have the good painting facility. If we have a reasonably good painting facility, you can pitch in well. This is one additional thing. Normally we do the spray painting, but you should go for the painting facility. All this can be created, if you ask me the costing, anywhere between 50 lakhs to 22 crores. This facility can be established based on the ambitions of the entrepreneur. Then it is what is the raw material required? Is the simple steel rods, steels, wood, some fasteners, and consumers like paints and all. It is normally available. Then if you talk about that manpower, yes, we require 2-3 skilled people apart from design. So design, I leave it to the entrepreneur, because unless until you have a passion to create a new thing, it will not happen. At micro and small, it is an entrepreneur which should have this skill. Hiring these skilled people at the design level, it's very difficult. So in a manufacturing, except 2-3 skilled people, you don't require. Again, here we required anywhere between 5 to 6 people. You can go up to in the 50 people, depend upon the ambition and where the investment pattern between 50 lakhs to 2 crores. And the markets, as I mentioned, you have central government, state government establishment, and if you see the small office procurements and all. And now you see every government is going for the new establishment. They are discarding the old buildings and going for the new building. Obviously, they go for the new furniture also. And the furniture one is like a recurring requirement. So this is where I have proposed one of these, because it is not so highly skilled one or highly complicated in terms of manufacturing system. It is only the simple design and all these things. So if you ask me the costing, yes, 50 lakhs and about 20-25 lakhs working capital, to 2 crores to 1.5 crore working capital is well within micro industry, this thing, where the city and other banks also can give. A lot of new schemes are coming up where the startups can be supported. And the turnovers, it can go anywhere between 25 lakhs to even the 25 crores, depend upon the skill of the entrepreneur. So, but it's not end. If you look at the procurement, government procurement, this is what. But if you ask me, the procurement system in the public sector is changing. Now, if you see, government is getting out of the manufacturing sector. If you see, they are going to disinvestment, all the public sector enterprises, including defense public sector. So once they're all out of government, so we have no demand that this industry should procure from a small and micro sector. So we are losing the market. So if you go for the certifications which we have, you can supply in the private markets also. So what I mean to say, that given the circumstances and the changing environment, and micro, especially the women enterprises, the better opportunity, and they should come. Next. So the conclusions, if you ask me, that I keep on mentioning changing government industry strategy and impact on the public procurement. So the government says manufacturing is not my role, but still their procurement for the offices and all is one of the biggest opportunity, like textile and all. If you have see the changeover, all the textile garments manufacturers come down to PPE manufacturing, but most of them are women entrepreneurs. So within no time, you could be able to change your as to the current demands. Again, global supply chain strategy in Indian procurement and gap. That's what I'm mentioning. Our procurement system from defense industry, we are advocating that we should go into OEM, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, which government is trying to see. That's where you can see government selected 6 strategic partners for the OEM manufacturer, whether it is aircraft or is a tanker and all. They define the 6 private industry as a, otherwise earlier everybody used to procure. So government also changing their supply chain system within India. So the same thing should come everywhere. So these are the gaps which I mean. Then the global credit opportunities, which is one as an organization which we need to think as a cluster. So like SIDBI has a very limited outlets, and approaching SIDBI by the large number of investors is very difficult. So SIDBI should come out earlier. We have discussions with the SIDBI and other bankers. So they should fund through cluster agent. For example, COVI, you have started your small unit over there, the cluster. So the cluster, yes, COVI should be the assessing agency and you get the bulk of sanction. And SIDBI, if I am correct, they will get at the finance at 4% of the cost. But by the time it comes, is that good as any nationalized bank. So even if the SIDBI person is there, I don't mind to say this. The purpose of creating SIDBI, providing central government at the lowest credit to them, but by end of the time, an entrepreneur will get in. It is sometimes it is higher than what nationalized bank is giving. So purpose of SIDBI is defeated in terms of facilitating small entrepreneur with low credit cost. So that's where organizations, the cluster should take bulk of the credit at the lower price, and they will be able to give it. This is one. And again, now there's a change in global investors strategy. They want to invest in India. So we need to find a mechanism where global funding should enable at the lowest cost, if not the individual industry, for a clusters. That's one. So this is where the industry associations should play a vital role in identifying the right markets. And unless until you this Tier 1, Tier 2, 3 systems come in, it's very difficult. So the OEM and COVI, the way you started, it should not be like everyone have their own industry. No, you should focus one OEM, what is their required, create a cluster wherein one supply one product, wherein you will not have a competition. It will be comfort and the quality and economy also grows. So this is, unless until the industry bodies come into this cluster approach, it's very difficult. We have a traditional, we always talk about Ambattur and all, but there are homegrown very naturally, but we need to create. If you see the study, cluster approach of the Bangladesh and Sri Lanka markets, there the textile, which India had to do in the similar way. And yeah, I take only 1.5 minutes, nothing more.
Okay, thank you so much. So sorry.
As an industry, you are doing a lot of studies globally, which I am aware. Really in the changing environment in the global demand towards India. We have seen this in 90s, late 90s, in early 2000s, we have seen global markets that India should meet their expectations, but there is no option because every country in the globally feels China as a threat. There is again the big opportunity. So if you see economies and industry, how this grown in Japan, Taiwan, Korea, China, and Malaysia. And if you see the Japan is a different way it is grown. The Taiwan, if you see the Taiwan model, you have the real clusters. The few people only manufacture all. If you see the CNC machine, it is economical, highly qualitative because it's a tiny industry which support the major industry. And there is no inter-competition. If at the OEM, there is a set of people, I'll get bed from one body and electronics someone. So this is a model which India requires now. This is my personal opinion. So this is what organizational COVI should matter for building and helping because government talk more on stand up and all. If everybody become an entrepreneur, where is the work? So this is where which you are doing the last 2 cases. You should continue to it out of your personal time and this thing. I really appreciate all you people taking your time. Next slide. This is.
Thank you, Sriram Garu. We can see that we need to have many more sessions with you because
women are better educated. Yeah, this is the last slide. Yeah. Women are better educated. Countries are more likely to see a balanced economic growth. This is what Taiwan is demonstrated. Malaysia is demonstrated. And because the demographic transition gets more balanced too. In such society, the demographic pyramids is more likely to be one of the slow expansion or the low stationary rather than the fast expansion. If you see, if a steep grown, you have no foundation to stand long. If you got the steady, and that is where the mindset of the women matters. So that's where the more women entrepreneurs should come and strengthen the economy. Next.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sriram.
Thanks for
The
the
last
opportunity.
slide.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last slide was, you're definitely 100% right about that. And we will again trouble you in the near future, because we can see that you have so much to share with us, and we have so much to learn from you. Thank you so much.